They watched you and tried to bury you. That's the hard truth. They whispered lies, spread rumors, and counted you out. Their plans were loud. Your comeback was quiet. That silence is your power. Right now, someone who tried to break you is replaying the moment they chose to act like they won. And every replay ends with the same sting: regret. Look around. The room goes still after the storm. People who once shouted are now careful. They lower their voices in private. They scan group chats at 2 in the morning and pretend it's casual. That trembling under their bravado? That's not luck. It's the aftershock of someone they thought they could crush standing calm and whole. You didn't explode back. You returned like steady steel. Your strength isn't a show. It's a wound healed into armor. Let me be clear to the people who hurt you. Your small cruelties are loud in your head now. You thought hiding behind gossip and cheap attacks would bury a life. You were wrong. The receipts exist. The truth shows up in unexpected places. People who fed on your low points are now feeding on their own shame. That is a fact. Your enemy's noise was a paper tiger. Under pressure, it fell apart. To you, chosen one, thank you for staying. Thank you for continuing the work, for not answering every provocation, for keeping your head when theirs was spinning. If this message lands for you, press like and subscribe now. That simple act helps this whole movement grow. It's how we pay back the message and build louder protection together. Back to the point. Being marked isn't about good luck or constant praise. It's about becoming a person who looks the world in the face and keeps moving. Many survivors of trauma develop sharper instincts and more grit. Research and therapists notice it. Adversity can make people more alert to danger, more able to feel what others miss, and more stubborn about boundaries. Translate that into purpose, and you are not fragile. You are focused. You are the person who learned from fire and stopped being fuel. Remember the story of the neighbor who tried to ruin your job, the ex who leaked private things, the friend who turned away at the worst moment. You rebuilt. You wrote new rules for your life. You didn't go back to the old patterns. That decision is louder than any rumor. People who watched you rebuild expected you to crack. Instead, they watch you rise with proof, receipts, resilience, and results. That combination is brutal to watch if you were the one who wanted to break someone. This is the part that hits them hardest. You did not need to make a spectacle. You did not chase revenge. You let your life become the answer. Your calm is your weapon. Their panic is the echo. They must now explain themselves to their own conscience. They must face the evidence that their choices cost them the chance to stand with you. Hearing them claim victim while clutching regret is the real slapback. Let's put it in practical terms. The ones who attacked you have no new plan. They repeat patterns. They recycle excuses. You, on the other hand, took the loss and turned it into a syllabus. You learned what to guard, who to trust, and where to invest your time. You upgraded your life with small moves, better boundaries, cleaner circles, clearer goals. Those small moves add up. They add up fast. That's why people who banked on your quiet collapse are now watching their options narrow, their safety net gone. Hear this. Protection here doesn't mean nothing bad ever happens. It means the bad things do not own you. The universe, call it fate, call it timing, call it the laws that surprise us, put a kind of mark on the path you walk. People who try to weaponize your past find that history fights back for you. Doors that closed on their lies open for your truth. Allies show up where you expected none. That's not a fairy tale. It's patterns in life that repeat when someone refuses to shrink. You deserve to feel the weight of this moment, not as arrogance, but as permission. Permission to stand taller, permission to stop explaining, permission to let quiet victory replace the loud chaos they wanted. When you do that, something odd happens. The people who wanted to see you small start to replay their worst decisions. They compare where they are with where you are. Regret is the result. I'll tell you a short truth that hits harder than sentences. People who try to destroy others rarely prepare for the truth to come back intact. They plan for drama, not discipline. They count on the wound, not the rebuild. So, when you show up with receipts, work, and a calm face, their world tilts. That tilt is when they realize how wrong they were. Now, brace up, because this intro only unpeels the first layer. What's coming next is not consolation. It's a breakdown of how your enemies fell into their mistakes, how your small daily wins stacked into a fortress, and how you can press forward without becoming bitter. This is the roadmap for turning regret into your silent army. Stay with me. This is not about petty victories. It's about reclaiming the story they tried to rewrite. It's about the quiet, unshowy steps that make them whisper in group chats and check your profile at 2 a.m. It's about how being marked by the universe, by timing, by grit, by choices, rearranges who holds power in your life. You weren't chosen for ease, you were chosen to be relentless, and right now, the people who tried to stop you are learning the cost of that choice. They are learning that regret is heavy and isolation is loud. Let that fuel you, not burn you. We move next into the real proof, the stories, the small facts, and the hard lessons that make this undeniable. And listen, Chosen one, Damnnn, these people are in regret, and you're rising. If this hits you, type the number 777 in the comments now. That small mark tells the world you choose growth over noise. Hit like and subscribe if you want more of these hard truths and the quiet strategies that turn pain into power. Stay a little longer. This next section breaks down, step by step, exactly how isolation became your secret weapon, how silence rebuilt you, how their regret became proof of your comeback, and why the universe seems to rearrange itself around people who refuse to shrink. Don't scroll away thinking you already know it. Stay, because the details coming up are the receipts, stories, small moves, and facts that flip the script on anyone who wanted you down. If you're a true chosen one, you'll feel the pull to watch this all the way through. If you're not, you'll miss the moment that changes everything. Press that button, drop 777, and breathe. You're not alone in this mission. Ready? Good. Now we move into the first step, how silence forged your armor and why their noise is collapsing right now. Number 1, your power was so real, even darkness had to bow. They tried to break you, but ended up breaking themselves. Listen closely. This part is going to sting for the ones who came against you. They thought you were weak, unguarded, easy to attack. But every time they took a swing, their hands came back bloodied. That's the kind of protection you carry. You didn't need to announce it, you didn't need to scream it, and you didn't need a crowd behind you. Your presence alone rewrote the rules of every room you walked into. People couldn't explain it, but they felt it. Something about you made liars choke on their own words and manipulators slip up in their own traps. That's not coincidence. That's your power making frauds fold. Think back. How many times did people set up a plan against you only to watch it collapse before it reached you? They were convinced this time they had you. They whispered in circles, dragged your name in shadows, and thought their performance was airtight. But mid-air, it fell apart. The gossip exposed itself. The betrayal backfired. The curses they muttered under their breath circled back like a boomerang and smacked them harder than they expected. You weren't just surviving, you were untouchable. The universe stamped a warning label on your spirit, not to be handled carelessly. And you might ask, why? Why you? Why did things seem to always ricochet back when they were aimed your way? Here's the truth. Your authenticity was your shield. People underestimate how dangerous realness is in a world addicted to fake. Most live behind masks, but you didn't. You showed up as you were, and that's why the phonies couldn't stand you. Your very existence tested their lies. When someone has built their whole life on deception, meeting someone who breathes truth feels like standing under a spotlight they can't escape. No wonder they squirmed. Remember the nights you thought you wouldn't make it? The days you felt cornered, like the pressure was unbearable? Let me tell you, your enemies were betting on that moment. They thought you'd fold. But instead, you learned something about yourself. You bend, but you don't break. That's what scared them most. A fragile person can be controlled. A resilient one is a nightmare, and you became their nightmare. Here's a fact that most won't admit. The strongest enemies are calculated. They don't waste their energy on wars they can't win. When they realized head-on attacks against you were useless, they switched strategies. They tried to sneak in through betrayal, through fake friends, through confusion. They hoped to poison you slowly, not crush you instantly. And still, something always blocked the full impact. That something was your unseen power. Call it the universe, call it fate, call it a current bigger than you, but it recognized you as untouchable. Off limits. They could bruise you, but they could never bury you. And here's the brutal irony. While you were just trying to heal, trying to find your footing, they were losing theirs. While you were learning how to walk again after being knocked down, they were tripping over their own envy. While you were fighting for survival, they were fighting to keep up appearances. Who do you think came out stronger? You, every single time. That's the gut punch they'll never admit. The harder they fought you, the more they exposed their own weakness. Let's get personal. Think about the people who doubted you in school, the co-workers who schemed behind your back, the so-called friends who secretly wanted to see you fail. Where are they now? Most are stuck in the same cycles, replaying the same mistakes. And you're not just standing, you're evolving. They wanted you to stay in the mud, but you built bricks out of it and climbed higher. That's why regret eats them alive. They don't just regret what they did to you, they regret underestimating you. You ever wonder why people who hated you still keep tabs on you? Why they watch your stories, scroll your feed, or ask mutual friends about you? It's because your rise is the reminder they can't erase. Every time they see you glowing, they're reminded of the moment they had a chance to treat you right. And blew it. That's a lifetime sentence of regret. Metaphorically speaking, you're like lightning. You don't warn, you just strike. They wanted thunder, loud drama, chaos, spectacle, but you gave them silence and shock. You hit without announcing, and that's why they're terrified. Because how do you defend yourself against someone who doesn't need to prove themselves? How do you block someone whose very existence flips the script? You can't, and that's the point. Here's another truth. You didn't even know how high your rank was. While they were obsessing over titles, clout, and fake respect, you were just trying to keep moving. That humility is part of what made you unstoppable. You weren't chasing recognition, and that made you dangerous. You weren't trying to be untouchable, you just were. That's why the enemy panicked. They held emergency meetings in their own minds, wondering, why is this person still standing? Why haven't they cracked yet? The answer was simple. You were never built to be broken. Let's answer the question that might be in your head right now. If I was so protected, why did I still go through pain? Because pain was your forge, not your finish. It wasn't there to kill you, it was there to carve you into someone unrecognizable to the old you. Without it, you wouldn't have discovered the depth of your strength. Without it, you wouldn't have built the resilience that now makes enemies nervous. Protection doesn't mean no wounds. It means no defeat. So here we are, chosen one. They regret deeply. And you? You shine brighter because of the fire. That's the paradox they can't handle. They thought they'd be celebrating your downfall, but now they sit in the shadows, forced to clap for your survival. You don't owe them words. You don't owe them explanations. You owe yourself the freedom to keep rising without looking back. Let this sink in. The same people who once mocked you are now praying you don't mention their names. The same ones who wanted to see you broken now avoid eye contact because you became the evidence of their failure. They didn't just lose against you, they lost against the truth. And nothing cuts deeper than that. Chosen one, you are unstoppable because every hit they aimed became a stepping stone. Every betrayal became a filter. Every attempt to bury you became fertilizer for your growth. And now, even darkness itself has to bow to the light you carry. That's not a performance. That's not a show. That's reality. Their regret is permanent. Your rise is permanent. And the story isn't even finished yet. Number 2, they didn't just lose you. They violated sacred ground. You don't play with fire and expect to walk away without scars. Here's the truth, chosen one. They didn't just lose you, they crossed a line they never should have touched. This wasn't about a broken friendship, a ruined relationship, or a shattered bond. It was about mishandling something that was never ordinary to begin with. You weren't just another face in their crowd, another name in their phone, another number in their story. You were sacred territory. You were the one space in their life that should have been handled with respect, with care, with reverence. But instead, they treated you like common ground. And now regret is clawing at them because they realize too late what they mishandled. To mishandle a chosen one is to gamble with your own peace. Think about it. They thought you were safe to play with. They thought they could mock you, betray you, discard you when it suited them, and then come back like nothing happened. But what they didn't realize was that every move against you was like digging their own grave. Imagine walking into a temple with muddy shoes, laughing, spitting, and breaking things, and only realizing later that you desecrated holy ground. That's exactly what they did when they disrespected you. They weren't just dealing with you, they were messing with the power, the energy, and the grace that surrounded you. And maybe you're wondering, but why me? Why did the universe put me in their lives in the first place? Here's the answer. You were their lifeline. You were sent as a chance for them to elevate, to grow, to change. Your presence carried peace, healing, and alignment. When you entered their life, doors opened for them. Things flowed smoother, opportunities showed up easier. They thought it was just coincidence, but no, it was you. You were the shift. You were the access point. And because they never honored it, they lost it. Imagine this, a drowning person handed a rope, but instead of grabbing it, they mock the one holding it. That's what they did to you. They didn't just lose your friendship or your love. They lost the protection and favor that came with you. Look back at how their life was when you were around compared to how it is now. Things were lighter, calmer, better. But after they mishandled you, things changed. Suddenly, nothing works the same. Their peace turned to chaos. Their wins turned to losses. Their smiles turned to stress. That's not karma, it's consequence. You can't mishandle sacred territory and expect your life to stay the same. And now they regret it, not just because you're gone, but because they feel the absence of everything that followed you. The covering you provided without even trying is gone. The energy you brought into rooms is gone. The balance you silently gave them is gone. And when they look around now, all they see is emptiness where you used to stand. You don't downgrade a diamond and expect gold to appear in your pocket. They thought walking away from you was an upgrade. They thought discarding you for someone else, mocking you for the crowd, or choosing betrayal over loyalty would somehow raise their status. But instead, their entire life downgraded. Because here's the truth, they weren't just connected to you as a person. They were connected to the flow of alignment you carried. You weren't ordinary. You were their chance at something bigger than themselves. And when they threw it away, they didn't just lose you, they lost the universe's order that came with you. Do you realize how haunting that regret is? To sit alone at night, scrolling through your life from the outside, realizing that peace was never in the new job, the new partner, or the new circle. It was in you. To wake up every morning feeling the weight of emptiness, knowing that the glow they used to bask in has disappeared. That's the kind of regret that never lets go. And here's another gut punch. They didn't even recognize what they had while you were there. You didn't come in flashy packaging. You didn't walk around demanding recognition. You showed up genuine, quiet, and real. And because it didn't fit the picture in their shallow minds, they disrespected it. They spit on the very blessing that was sent to save them. They mocked the gift because it didn't look like the one they expected. That's not just blindness, that's arrogance. Imagine this, you're handed a priceless painting, but because the frame is plain, you toss it in the trash. Only later do you realize you threw away a masterpiece. That's how they treated you. Now, they carry the weight of realization. They can replace people, but they can't replace energy. They can find someone to talk to, but they can't find your peace. They can surround themselves with noise, but they'll never feel your calm. They didn't just mishandle a person, they mishandled sacred territory. That's not something you recover from easily. And maybe you're asking yourself, so what happens to them now? Do they ever recover? The truth is, some will never recover fully. Regret will trail them like a shadow. Every good thing that falls apart in their life will remind them of how they mishandled you. Every fake smile they force will crack under the weight of knowing they lost their best chance at true alignment. Some will try to come back, but when they do, they'll realize the door has closed. Once sacred territory has been disrespected, the universe does not grant easy second chances. They didn't just mishandle you, they mishandled their own destiny. That's the harsh truth. They weren't playing games with your heart, they were playing Russian roulette with their future, and the bullet went off. They thought their actions were small, harmless, forgettable, but the consequences are massive, lingering, unforgettable. Their regret is not a moment, it's a life sentence. Chosen one, let this empower you. Don't cry over what you lost. Recognize what they lost. Don't question why they disrespected you. Understand that they disrespected themselves by mishandling you. Don't wonder if you were enough. Know that you were too much for them to recognize. You weren't just a chapter. They were handed the whole book and they tore out the pages. That's on them, not you. So stand tall in this truth. You are sacred territory. Your presence is not casual, your energy is not replaceable, and your worth is not negotiable. They didn't just lose you, they lost the order, the grace, the favor, the protection that came with you. And that's why their regret is endless. Because here's the final fact, they'll never escape. They didn't downgrade from a person, they downgraded from destiny, and that, chosen one, is the kind of regret that echoes for a lifetime. Number 3. Your purpose was so dangerous, even darkness chose not to strike. When your silence shakes the room more than their screams, that's when fear creeps into your enemies. Chosen one, let's be brutally honest, your existence alone was a disruption. They didn't avoid attacking you out of mercy, they avoided attacking you out of survival. You were a problem too big to fix, a storm too powerful to face. Imagine this. A boxer who studies his opponent and realizes swinging will only break his own hand. That's what the enemy saw in you. To attack you directly would have caused more damage to them than to you. So they chose delay, distraction, manipulation, anything but destruction. That's how threatening your purpose was. And maybe you've wondered, why do strange things always happen around me? Why do people switch up, doors slam shut, and betrayals appear out of nowhere? It wasn't bad luck. It was interference. You were too much of a disruption for toxic systems to handle. Your presence broke patterns without you even trying. That's why fake friends suddenly shifted, why perfect opportunities collapsed, why enemies came in disguise. You were the earthquake under their foundations, and earthquakes don't ask permission. Imagine walking into a room and the atmosphere changes before you even speak. That's the weight you carried. Yes, they got close. Yes, you lost things. But notice this, they never touched your core. They couldn't take your soul, your sanity, or your sense of self. You bent, but you never snapped. And that wasn't chance, that was protection. The universe marked you as too valuable to destroy. Every time an attack came near, it was clipped short. Every time a plan rose against you, it fell apart halfway. They learned the hard way that touching you recklessly carried a price. Here's the fact they don't want to admit. You were preserved because you're dangerous to everything fake. And now that you're awake, the game is over. Distraction no longer works. Delay no longer stalls you. Fear no longer grips you. The moment a chosen one recognizes their own value, every enemy agenda collapses. That's where you are right now. You weren't just protected, you were reserved for impact. Your survival wasn't luck, it was proof that your purpose is more terrifying to darkness than your downfall could ever be. So, stand tall, chosen one. Their silence isn't peace, it's fear. They didn't spare you out of kindness, they spared you because they couldn't afford to lose the fight they knew they'd never win. And that's the regret that haunts them still. Number 4. You became the living proof that destiny can be delayed but never destroyed. They buried you like a seed, not knowing you'd grow back taller than their shadows. Chosen one, let's get one thing straight. They thought they ended you. They believed their gossip, their sabotage, their betrayals, and their fake smiles would finally silence you for good. They dragged your name through the mud, waiting for the dirt to suffocate you. But what they didn't realize is this: dirt doesn't bury seeds, it plants them. And that's exactly what happened to you. They didn't cancel your destiny. They only postponed the day it would bloom. For a while, it looked like they were winning. You were quiet, almost invisible. You felt lost, pushed into corners, stripped of confidence. And they celebrated, thinking the silence meant defeat. But while they were laughing, you were learning. While they were clapping for your disappearance, you were sharpening your focus. Your retreat wasn't the end, it was the reload. That's why when you resurfaced, you came back stronger, sharper, untouchable. Imagine a storm knocking down a tree only to discover its roots went deeper than anyone thought. That's you. And maybe you've asked yourself, why didn't it just end there? Why did I survive what should have destroyed me? Because destiny isn't negotiable. It's not tied to opinions, lies, or delays. It's wired into who you are. They could block opportunities, ruin relationships, or poison your name, but they could never rewrite what was written for you. Your destiny wasn't waiting for their approval. It was waiting for your awakening. The delay was the setup. The pain was the training. Every breakdown became a blueprint. Every betrayal became a lesson. You didn't just bounce back, you ascended. That's why it hurts them so much now. They didn't just fail to stop you. They accidentally pushed you closer to alignment. They gave you fuel without realizing it. Their sabotage became your stamina. Here's the truth. You weren't fighting them, you were fighting the weight of what you carried. And you won. Now you walk as living proof that destiny can't be erased. They can mock, they can delay, they can try to suffocate, but they cannot kill what was built to last. And that reality is their torment. Watching you glow in the very light they tried to snuff out, knowing you became undeniable right in front of their eyes. Number 5. You shook them because you were both a threat and a mirror. Oh, people hate mirrors when they're scared of their own reflection. Chosen one, you never had to be loud to rattle them. You weren't out here chasing clout, competing for attention, or trying to prove anything. You were simply walking in truth, doing the inner work, staying consistent. And yet, without lifting a finger, you became their biggest threat. Why? Because your presence was a mirror. Every time they looked at you, they were forced to face the gap between who they pretended to be and who they really were. That quiet exposure cut deeper than any insult ever could. Think about it. The hate didn't always come in shouts. It slid in quietly. Backhanded compliments, sudden tension, weird energy you couldn't quite explain. It was envy, plain and simple. Not envy because you had more, but because you were more. More grounded, more authentic, more aligned, and your authenticity pulled the mask right off theirs. Imagine standing next to a clean glass of water while holding a cup full of mud. That's how they felt around you. The contrast made their dirt obvious. Your peace will always irritate people still addicted to chaos. You didn't flaunt, but your calm presence exposed their storm. You didn't compete, but your steady rise exposed their stagnation. You didn't brag, but your humility highlighted how fragile their fake confidence was. And that's why they could never love you properly. Every time they got close, they felt the reminder of what they lacked. And maybe you've asked, why would someone resent me if I never wronged them? Here's the answer. You made their excuses invalid. You were living proof that healing was possible, that growth was real, that peace wasn't just a theory. And when someone is comfortable in lies, they will see the truth as an attack, even when you never said a word. Imagine this, a light in a dark room. Some people will move closer to see, others will shield their eyes or try to break the bulb. That's exactly what happened to you. Instead of using you as inspiration, they twisted discomfort into resentment. They couldn't control you, they couldn't compete with you, and they couldn't copy you. That paradox tore them apart. You weren't their enemy. You were their reminder. A reminder of what they could be if they stopped hiding and what they chose not to become. And that truth was unbearable. Number 6. You were the exit door. They slammed shut to stay in chains. Some people don't fear bondage, they fear what freedom will demand of them. Chosen one, here's the brutal reality. You weren't just a person in their life, you were the exit. You were the open door they claimed they were praying for, the breakthrough they swore they wanted, the lifeline they silently cried out for when no one was watching. But when it came time to walk through, they froze. Not because they couldn't see your value, but because your presence forced them to confront everything they'd been hiding. And that truth was too heavy for them to carry. You walked in with light, and light doesn't play favorites. It exposes all of it, the lies, the habits, the cycles, the masks. You didn't arrive to coddle their dysfunction or let them play small. You arrived to challenge their excuses, to confront the narratives they built, to protect their pain, to make them see themselves without filters. And instead of thanking you for being the answer, they labeled you the problem. Imagine standing at the gate of freedom, but choosing to turn around because the chains feel familiar. That's what they did. The truth is, not everyone really wants freedom. Some people get so used to pain that it becomes their identity. Trauma becomes their currency. Dysfunction becomes their comfort zone. You came offering healing, and they pushed it away. You came offering growth, and they mocked it. You came offering love without conditions, and they projected their wounds onto you because they couldn't handle what it felt like to be seen so deeply. And maybe you've asked yourself, why would someone reject the very thing they've been asking for? Here's the answer. You didn't just show up with comfort, you showed up with change. Change is expensive. Change demands sacrifice. Change requires letting go of excuses that people have built their whole lives around. For them, the chains felt safer than the unknown of freedom. Now look at where they are. Still replaying the same cycles, still haunted by the same demons, still trapped in the same rooms they swore they'd escape, and deep down, they know what they missed. You. You weren't just an option, you were the cure. But they crucified the cure because it scared them more than the disease. That's not your failure, chosen one. That's their regret, their prison, and their chains to carry. Number 7. They plotted against you, but ended up sabotaging their own redemption. Betrayal doesn't just wound the target, it boomerangs back and destroys the betrayer. Chosen one, they really thought they were clever, whispering in circles, twisting your name, fabricating lies, trying to poison people's view of you. They thought they were building their power by dragging you down. But here's the gut punch. They weren't plotting against you, they were plotting against their own redemption. You weren't just passing through their life casually, you were placed strategically. You were sent to lift, to cover, to intercede, to help them tap into a level of breakthrough they couldn't reach on their own. And by fighting you, they slammed the door on themselves. Imagine someone holding the keys to your prison cell, but instead of thanking them, you spit in their face. That's what they did to you. You were the one who saw through their pain without judgment. You recognized the broken child inside the angry adult. You felt their trauma, carried their weight, and still chose to stand by them. You gave patience where others gave up. You spoke life when others spoke death. And for all of that, they crowned you the villain. They betrayed the very covering that was protecting them. Here's the part they'll never admit. Your presence opened doors for them. Your support created peace they couldn't create for themselves. Your silent battles were the reason they weren't crushed under the weight of their own dysfunction. But betrayal has consequences. You can't cut off the hands that shield you and expect safety. What they threw at you came back heavier, not because you cursed them, but because they cursed themselves. Now the same chaos they wished for you sits in their own lap. The doors they thought would remain open have closed. The peace they once borrowed from your presence has vanished. They tried to frame you as the enemy, but in truth, they were fighting their own ally. And the universe doesn't let that go unchecked. So understand this. You didn't lose them. They lost themselves. They weren't plotting against a person. They were plotting against their own breakthrough. And that's the kind of loss no apology, no excuse, no cover story can ever undo. Number 9. You were the test they flunked, and now your rise is the example. The way people treat you is the loudest confession of who they really are. Chosen one, here's the uncut truth. You weren't some random face that crossed their path. You were the test. The universe placed you in their life as an opportunity, not entertainment. You were the living exam paper handed to them, designed to reveal the truth of their character. No titles, no fancy packaging, no loud announcements, just you, pure, real, authentic. And how they treated you exposed everything they tried so hard to hide. They didn't just fail, they failed loudly. You gave them the chance to honor, respect, support, or simply love you. Instead, they mocked, competed, and belittled. They thought they were rejecting just another person, someone easy to replace. But here's the irony. What they threw away was the very blessing they'd once claimed to be praying for. You were the chance to shift their cycles, to open doors, to elevate them, and they spat on it. Imagine being offered clean water in the desert, but laughing at it because the cup wasn't gold. That's how they handled you. Maybe you've wondered, why me? Why was I placed in their story just to be mistreated? Because tests don't happen in comfort, they happen in challenge. The point was never to flatter them, it was to expose them. And when the test came, their jealousy leaked, their lies surfaced, and their betrayal screamed the truth louder than any excuse ever could. Now, look at the scoreboard. They're stuck exactly where they were, circling the same cycles, watching from the sidelines while you rise. And here's the sharp twist. The universe is using your elevation as the example. Your glow is the lesson. Your success is the reminder. Every step you climb is proof of what happens when someone respects alignment versus what happens when they mishandle it. You were their test, and they failed. Now your life is the textbook everyone else will study. So don't mistake their regret for remorse. They're not just sorry they lost you, they're haunted by the fact that your very existence now stands as evidence. Evidence that you can't play with what's sacred. Evidence that mishandling someone chosen doesn't just backfire. It leaves you stuck while they soar. You became the example, and they became the warning. Number 10. Your light made their demons choke, so they ran. The truth doesn't need to raise its voice, it only needs to walk in the room. Chosen one, you never had to swing at anyone. You never had to expose secrets, drag names, or start fights. All you had to do was show up. That alone was enough to shake them. Your presence carried weight, the kind of weight that makes masks slip without a word. You didn't need a spotlight because your very frequency was the spotlight. And when that light hit them, it burned. Think about it. You were kind, you were respectful. Sometimes you were even quiet, keeping to yourself. But even in your silence, you made them restless. Why? Because your peace made their chaos impossible to justify. Your honesty rubbed raw against their lies. Your healing mocked their avoidance. Your authenticity made their performance look like cheap theater. Imagine a mirror walking into the room. No words, no judgment, just reflection. That was you. They said you were too much. They accused you of changing, of acting better, of thinking you were above them. But those were just projections. What they really meant was, I can't hide when you're here. Your growth was their reminder that they were stuck. Your glow exposed the stains they'd been covering up. Your strength convicted the weakness they kept denying. And maybe you've wondered, if I was so good to them, why did they run? The answer is simple. People who aren't ready to face themselves will always flee the mirror. It wasn't you they couldn't handle. It was the reflection you forced them to see. You didn't attack them. You activated them, and their demons couldn't breathe in your light. So they ran, not to protect their peace, but to protect their illusions. They blamed you for the exposure because admitting the truth would have required change, and change is the one thing they feared most. They didn't flee because you were harmful. They fled because your light revealed what they worked so hard to keep hidden. Deep down, they know the truth. Your presence didn't wound them, it convicted them. And conviction is the sharpest discomfort when someone is married to their shadows. That's why they had to leave, not because you broke them, but because you showed them they were already broken. Number 11. Even darkness knew your suffering had an expiration date. Pressure is always loudest right before the breakthrough. Chosen one, think back to those moments when it felt like your whole world was caving in. The betrayal from people you trusted, the silence from those you counted on, the weight of battles that seemed to appear from nowhere. It wasn't random. It wasn't because you were weak or off track. It was because your breakthrough was right around the corner and everything in darkness knew it. You had a deadline on your suffering. An expiration date was stamped on the pain, and as it drew near, the attacks multiplied in desperation. Imagine a storm raging its hardest right before the skies clear. That was your life. The universe doesn't waste attacks on people who aren't a threat. If you had been ordinary, untouched, uninspired, you wouldn't have been tested like this, but you were marked for transformation. You were on the verge of stepping out of the cycle, out of the patterns, out of the trauma that once kept you bound. And that terrified everything that wanted you stuck. That's why it got louder, heavier, more chaotic. It was the panic of losing its grip on you. And maybe you asked yourself, why did the final stretch feel so personal? Why did the last hits cut the deepest? Because you weren't begging to survive anymore. You were starting to evolve. You were no longer asking for peace. You were becoming peace. That shift was too dangerous for your enemies. It meant they couldn't touch you the same way again. Suffering doesn't last forever. It has a clock. And when the time runs out, no force can hold you down. Yes, the final blows hurt. Yes, they tried to delay you, to make you quit before the finish line. But you didn't quit. you kept moving, and now you stand as proof that pain has limits, trials have deadlines, and storms have endings. Darkness doesn't get the last word. Your suffering expired the moment your strength outlasted the attacks. And that's why today, chosen one, you are living evidence that no matter how long the night feels, it always ends when the universe declares, time's up. Number 12. They regret hurting you because now they know the universe was keeping receipts. What's done in the dark always finds its way to the light. Chosen one, they thought they were slick. The lies whispered in corners, the manipulation they disguised as care, the fake smiles they wore while hoping you'd break. To them, it was just another game of control, power moves, ego trips, smear campaigns. They laughed, thinking they got away with it. But what they never realized is that nothing escapes the eyes of the universe. Every word, every plot, every betrayal, it was all being recorded. Imagine someone playing chess, smiling because they think you don't see the move they made, only to realize the whole board was under surveillance the entire time. While they were mocking you, the universe was documenting them. While they were setting traps, the balance of justice was already preparing correction. And here's the part that haunts them now. Consequences don't come dressed as coincidence. They come as lessons. Every door closing on them, every restless night, every connection falling apart. That's not bad luck. That's the boomerang of their own choices coming back, harder, sharper, undeniable. And maybe you've wondered, why now? Why are things crumbling for them after all this time? Because timing is precise. Justice doesn't rush, but it doesn't forget. Their downfall didn't show up out of nowhere. It showed up right on schedule, the moment the universe declared their free ride was over. They thought no one was watching. The truth? Life itself was keeping receipts. Now, regret is eating them alive. Not just regret over losing you, but regret over realizing their actions carried a price tag they never calculated. They thought they could mistreat you and walk away untouched. Instead, they're living inside the weight of conviction. The silence they sit in now, that's not peace. It's guilt pressing down on them. Every memory of how they mishandled you is now the evidence haunting their nights. This was never about revenge. It was about balance, about showing that hurting someone sent into your life as a blessing always carries a cost. And that cost isn't paid once. It's paid slowly, over and over, as they're forced to watch you rise while they fall under the weight of their own decisions. Number 13. Losing you meant losing the keys to their own breakthrough. Some people don't realize they weren't walking away from a person, they were walking away from their portal. Chosen one, they thought cutting you off was just another casual move, just another shift in their messy game. They convinced themselves you were replaceable, that anyone could fill your place, that walking away from you would have no cost. But here's the truth that keeps them awake now. You weren't just a person. You were alignment. You were access. You were the bridge they needed to reach the very breakthrough they claimed they were praying for. Your presence wasn't ordinary. It came with favor that shifted atmospheres, wisdom that unlocked direction, and peace that settled storms. You didn't just exist in their life, you carried doors inside you. And every time they stood next to you, those doors cracked open wider. But because they couldn't recognize the gift, they mishandled it. And in disconnecting from you, they weren't just walking away from love, friendship, or support. They were cutting themselves off from their own elevation. Imagine being handed a master key, but tossing it aside because you didn't like how plain it looked. That's exactly what they did with you. They thought replacing you would level them up. Instead, it dragged them backwards. The cycles they thought they'd outgrown came back stronger. The very battles you were shielding them from now rest heavy on their shoulders. And while they spiral, they're forced to watch something that cuts deeper than jealousy. Others rising where they should have risen, succeeding where they should have succeeded, because those others honored what they disrespected. That's the sting of divine recompense, not because you tried to flaunt it, but because the universe doesn't let dishonor go unaddressed. Your life has become the mirror of what they lost. The peace, the clarity, the opportunities, the flow of blessings that now bypass them. And it burns them, not because you're shining, but because deep down they know they could have been standing right beside you in that light. When you lose someone sent to elevate you, you don't just lose a relationship, you lose a realm. Now they're stuck, watching the next level walk right past them, wearing the very face they once disrespected. That regret isn't about losing you alone. It's about realizing they forfeited their own breakthrough. And no replacement, no distraction, no excuse can fill the gap left behind. Number 14. Your glow doesn't ask permission, it forces regret all by itself. True favor doesn't argue, it shines, and in shining, it makes liars choke on their own words. Chosen one, you never begged for a stage. You never went chasing recognition or knocking on doors, asking people to validate your worth. While others were busy performing, you were quietly building. While they were chasing applause, you were healing in silence, working in shadows, staying true when nobody was watching. And now, the same people who laughed at you, doubted you, and tried to bury you are being forced to watch you bloom. That's the thing about favor. It doesn't need votes, it doesn't need validation, and it doesn't need the approval of people who never clapped for you. Favor just arrives, shifts the atmosphere, and speaks louder than any defense you could have given. Your story proves it. Every attempt to silence you backfired. Every smear campaign became free publicity. Every betrayal was just fertilizer for the roots you were growing underground. Imagine a seed buried so deep everyone assumes it's dead, until one day it breaks the ground and rises into a tree too strong to cut down. That's you. They thought ignoring you would cancel you. They believed distancing themselves would shrink you. They thought their silence had power over your destiny. What they didn't realize is that your rise was never tied to them. It was tied to your purpose. You kept going even when your heart was shattered. You kept sowing even when you felt empty. You kept holding on when everything in you wanted to let go. That's why your glow terrifies them, because it's not man-made. It's undeniable. Now, regret is haunting them, not because you're bragging, but because they can't escape the truth of who you always were. Your life has become a loudspeaker, broadcasting the reality that favor cannot be blocked, faked, or stolen. And every blessing you receive is another reminder of what they mishandled. They thought they buried you, but they didn't know the difference between a grave and a garden. Your story is evidence, evidence that the universe keeps receipts, evidence that every tear you cried in silence was counted, evidence that betrayal never breaks the chosen, it builds them. Now your glow isn't just healing you, it's haunting those who tried to dim it, not out of spite, but out of correction. So let them whisper, let them watch, let them sit in the silence they created. Because this isn't about revenge or validation, it's about elevation. You don't need closure. You don't need their apology. You don't need to prove anything. You already won. And the proof isn't in your words. It's in your glow, the kind no hater can mute and no enemy can cancel. And now, chosen one, we've reached the end of this revelation, but the story of your rise is still unfolding. Everything they tried to destroy became proof of just how untouchable you are, and their regret is the echo of your victory. You don't need revenge. Your life itself is the payback. If this message spoke to your spirit, press the like button, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to claim this energy as your own. And don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone else who needs to know they are unstoppable too.